What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, I want to give my thoughts quickly on Teofimo Lopez, Steve Claggett fight. Now, I don't know Steve Claggett at all. First time I've ever heard about him. Then I went and watched some of his previous fights. All right. He wasn't in the same class as Teofimo. Teofimo was obviously the better fighter. Now, the important thing for Teofimo is that he won the fight. You know, Teofimo, just like most fighters, they talk a lot of trash. And so, for people that's annoyed with Teofimo, or they don't really feel him because he's been telling a lot of lies, which is factual, because he said a lot of things, then he turns around and contradicts himself. You guys been following me, you know I've covered these things many times, and I have several videos where I'm explaining what he said and then what he followed up and said. So he did, he definitely says things that don't have any truth in them at all, and he loves to use his imagination and make assumptions about things. Okay, but this being said, he won the fight unanimously. I don't expect a fighter, okay? I don't expect a human being to deliver a home run every single time the same exact way. This is fighting. You have opponents that's just as determined as you. Sometimes determination will beat skill. Sometimes will beat skill. Sometimes you being much tougher than the person will beat skill. Okay, it does happen. Now, when that skillful fighter has the same determination as you or more, that's when it's like an uphill battle on ice skates, okay, to beat that person. When you're in a position of you have more of a puncher's chance to win than anything else, yeah, those things happen. I can't make an assessment of Teofimo not looking like a good fighter or being a good fighter because, well, I don't know Steve Claggett. You don't have to know them. There's people right now who don't know who Jerron Boots Ennis is, but we know what Jerron Boots Ennis can do. Okay, the thing is, as far as Steve goes, I never heard of him or saw him before. So, once again, there's people that don't know Jerron Boots Ennis, but for us that do know, we know what he can do. And then there's people that see him that simply go into fanboy mode, and the hatred comes in just because, he wants to fight the very top guy. So, the same people that bash Errol Spence, all of a sudden, they bash Jerron Boots Ennis for wanting to fight him. They bash him for wanting to fight Crawford, but yet, if he was to pretty much turn down a fight with Crawford or Errol Spence, then they'd be saying, oh, he's chicken shit, he's running. And there was already false narratives told about that, which I cleared up, which I let the video play for itself. And Terrence Crawford himself denied nothing. Terrence Crawford himself pretty much, listen, all of these guys understand the business of boxing to where you get to certain levels, and it's more for you to lose. So it's really easy for people to talk about who's doing what and who's ducking and who's this and that. But if you understand the business, certain things you expect to happen, regardless to what they say. But that's the conflict, because you say one thing and then you do something else. Now, that's all being said, if we're looking at Teofimo's performance against Claggett, I can't say Teofimo looked bad in the fight. I just, like I said, it's because he fought someone that nobody knows. There's a lot of fighters we don't know. That doesn't mean that they can't fight. Okay, you have good fighters. Look at Terrence Crawford. Top Rank was doing nothing for him promotional wise, and this is like when I say in this day and age, there's different ways to promote yourself. You have access to do these things. And if your mindset is, nah, I'm not interested in that, I just want to fight. Yeah, but you do interviews, and you get on interviews, and you say whatever you're going to say. So, why not take control of your own destiny? Well, that's what they got management for. Yeah, right. But when your management team is failing you, do you continue to just sit back and cross your fingers and hope that they can get you the fights that you want? Or do you say, no, I'm going to promote my brand? Because that's what you are. You are a brand, okay? What's the longest reigning and most successful shoe in the world? Nike, Air Jordans. Do you think that they would be in the position that they're in You think Jordan would be in this position if he didn't push and scratch and claw and make sure that things went right? And the people behind him, the marketing machine and everything, where how they want to make sure that these shoes are everything. They're in video games, everything. Okay? People can watch, Michael Jordan Historical Bulls video. One of the things that they often do, they're looking at what he's doing. They're watching him play. But he got on the Air Jordan 1s. Oh, that's the Air Jordan 11, Joe. I got those. You understand? They pay attention to all of that stuff. That has nothing to do with this game, but they pay attention to all those things. So you have to know how to be on top of your game. So the thing is, like, you look at Terrence Crawford is in a better space now, but look how long it took him. He's on the end, like he said out of his own mouth. I'm on the tail end of my career now. So no, he didn't get to do this while he was younger. So even with his accomplishments, for example, how many people talk about Terrence Crawford when he was undisputed at the lower weight class? They don't. They're not talking about what he did at 140. They're talking about what he's been doing lately. Do you understand what I mean? As if they don't really remember the fights that he had then. They didn't mean anything. Do you understand? Not that they didn't, but that's the way the sport is. That's the way people look at you. What have you done lately, right? Which is true. That's what we have to go by to judge where you are. Not what you've done, but what have you done lately, okay? Not way back when. But bottom line, I'm saying, like, his popularity, and then the older you get, the younger generation lose touch with you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a fighter that's in their 20s right now is more likely to have the younger followers following them. Real fight fans will watch what you're doing regardless of your age. But the younger fight fans don't want to follow someone 36, 37, 30, you understand what I'm saying to you? You look at guys like Deontay Wilder at his age now. Who do you think? You think it's 20-year-olds? You think, no. You understand what I'm saying? No, they're following the younger fighters. The Bam Rodriguez's, the Ryan Garcias, people in that age group. They're not following behind. He an old head. I don't know him. That's the way they see things. Now, here's the truth. I'm not looking at Lopez versus Tank.Davis, which is so funny because I saw so many comments before Lopez fought and Tank just fought against Frank Martin. You had people that would say they were split on who they think would win between Davis and Lopez. And then all of a sudden, after the Claggett fight, I started seeing comments saying, stay away from Tank.Davis. Yo, Tank will do this, Tank will do that. It's like, you guys that are doing that are flip-flopping on a fight-by-fight basis. And you're not going to look exactly the same in every fight. Every fighter poses a different threat. So regardless to who people think is going to win a fight, I'm not even entertaining Tank.Davis versus Teofimo. First off, who Tank needs to fight, who he needs to fight is Lomachenko. That's who he claimed he wants to fight. He said he wants to fight all of those guys that he didn't get a chance to fight yet, right? So we're talking about Shakur Stevenson. We're talking about Teofimo Lopez. You understand what I'm saying? He's talking about Keyshawn Davis. Frank Martin is down already. Pitbull Cruz is down already. Riley Romero and all these other people. So those are the guys we're looking at. And Lomachenko being one of them. And he, out of his own mouth, said he wanted to fight Lomachenko. So why are we jumping the gun and putting him in the ring with Teofimo Lopez? And the only way that's happening is if Teofimo is willing to go back to 135 or fight at a catchweight. Okay, Tank will be the A side, and either you're going to accept his terms or he's not going to fight you. Okay, so with that being said, for us to start automatically Teofimo versus Tank.Davis, this is going to be, where are people even getting this from? This is going to be a hell of a fight. Who says the fight's going to happen? And once again, all parties have to agree. I saw an article that said Tank.Davis numbers, tanks. I just seen an article a couple of days ago that said this was Tank.Davis' biggest pay-per-view, his biggest numbers outside of the Ryan Garcia fight. They were good numbers, but they didn't surpass him and Ryan Garcia. I didn't read the whole article. I didn't need to. I really don't care. Okay? So the point with that is, all this A-side, B-side stuff, Remember when I said we'll see what Tank numbers do when he fights, when he come back. So I don't know what the numbers were. I could easily get that information by going right back to that site or whatever. I don't really care personally. The point what I'm getting at is, in boxing, okay, you can't look at numbers, you can't look at TV ratings, you can't really go by any of that type of stuff. Now, it's one thing when people are delusional and lying about what type of numbers they're doing, what kind of money they've been, making. But what I'm saying is when you look at what these people, like the opponents, so it's obvious it's because it was Tank versus Ryan that they were able to do 1.2. Now, who else was on the card that people may have wanted to see? I don't know. Okay, but looking at the main event scene, when you look at the fact that Tank.Davis, like he told Shakur Stevenson, right, he needs another big win to get interest back in the fight with him. And Shakur's getting ready for a fight. Keyshawn Davis has a fight coming. When you look at all of this, Tank.Davis beating Frank Martin. Frank Martin's a good fighter. Can't take anything away from him. Okay. Skill-wise, is he better than this guy Claggett? Yeah. Now we're talking two different weight classes, where one guy's at 140, and pretty much he's not willing to go to 135. He came up from 135. So he's not willing to go back down there. He said it was too hard to make the weight, right? One fight at a time. Who at 140 does Teofimo really have his eyes on that, okay, this is legitimately going to happen? I don't know. I don't know that he knows, okay? Because saying someone's name is not the same as you guys sending contracts and term sheets to make the fight happen. The reality is, for Tank.Davis, he needs to get in there with Lomachenko. And if he doesn't go in there with Lomachenko, you think about this. What reason would Tank and Lomachenko fight have to not happen next? Why would it not happen? Why shouldn't it? So if Tank can tell Shakur, you need to get another big win to get interest back in the fight. Okay, you beat Frank Martin, and he did that after not fighting for a year. Okay, over a year, cool. But what Tank doesn't need to do, he has no reason to come back and let's take an easy fight. No, he needs to stay motivated. He needs to stay hungry. There's no reason right now that Tank and Lomachenko shouldn't be in negotiations. So I'm not willing to jump ahead and start saying a bunch of stuff that's going to happen before it happens. Because one thing that we know about boxing is when you see a fight, people automatically, before the fight, if you've had fight parties in your house, you know while you're watching a fight, there's always somebody in the room want to start comparing you to the next fighter and what would happen and who's going to do. It's like, man, just shut up and watch this fight. Damn it, man. We haven't even got a conclusion yet. You understand what I'm saying? This is the fight we're focusing on. People are just greedy, and delusional. So we don't know that these fights are going to actually happen, but there's no reason Tank.Davis and Teofimo should fight before Tank.Davis fights Lomachenko when they're already in the same weight class. And once again, we're talking about negotiations, okay, where Tank's going to be the A side, okay? So if we want to talk about viewership, I doubt that this Claggett and Teofimo Lopez fight had a big viewership to it as well, okay? It doesn't make a difference. You can have a show on regular TV. And, like, I'll give you a perfect example, right? If you look at professional wrestling, very few people right now do the ratings of the WWE. Why? Now, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you could easily pull them up and find what the ratings were. SmackDown, Raw, NXT, right? Who's the competition? AEW. These people are not doing, notice, you don't see rating systems, you don't see the ratings for TNA Impact. You don't see the ratings for MLW, New Japan. Why do you only see ratings for AEW? Because that's the only real competition. Now, New Japan is competition as well, but not the same way. They're not even American based. So the audience for New Japan over here is not the same. But AEW is a 5-year-old company, and they already have 3 major shows on TNT and TBS. Okay, and they were able to do this in 5 years, and they're still growing. But wrestling has always taken a back seat to the NBA, especially when the playoff season come, baseball, football. Do you understand what I mean? So when those things happen, people don't factor in what the competition was. Then they'll take another show and say, well, this show was able to get X amount of ratings. Okay, but even for that show that they're bringing up to say that they got X amount of ratings, that's all good. But if they're not interested in that show, the mentality is, how could this show get 4.3 million viewers and AEW couldn't? Right. At the same time, WWE can't get 4 million viewers. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, you hear me say, some people get to play basketball on a 10-foot hoop while others have to play on a 12-foot hoop. So AEW is in that position of you have to play on a 12-foot hoop. The WWE can give you a trash program. They can have a fight card and you sit there and watch the show and go, what the hell did I just watch? But it's WWE, so, right? Okay. It's the same thing when it comes to boxers. You are a brand, and depending on who you fight, once again, that's why when people use terms like superstar, no. There are very few superstars in boxing, man. And to be honest with you, we're talking about big money and attention. AJ, Canelo. Now, you still have to put Tank in that category because Tank basically does get more attention than these other fighters. But look at how many fighters are here. And we're talking about 3 people. Because let's not forget, Canelo's had some pay-per-views that they didn't do as well as his other ones. So in other words, Tank and Canelo and AJ, they could do certain numbers that if somebody else did those numbers, they would say those were good numbers. But because of who they are, it tanked. If Michael Jackson sells 1 million records, that's considered a fail to people. Why? Well, because he sold 10 million at one point and he sold 50. Okay, so 1 million is a fail. But for another artist, that's platinum. That's great. That's huge. You understand what I'm saying? That's how they look at things. And is it hypocritical? Is it fair? No. Okay, people are not fair. I just watched the other day, July 3rd, Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley came on Netflix. I sat here and I watched it. I laughed. I thought the movie was funny. I thought it was good. I don't care about people's opinions. You can't tell me what makes me laugh and what's funny and what's good to me. But the same type of reviews is what I knew you were going to get. Oh, it didn't recapture the glory of the first one. Eddie in this one. Okay, wait, stop right there. And the first Beverly Hills Cop, Eddie was 21, 22. Okay, the second movie came out 3 years later. He was still in his 20s. Eddie is 63 years old. Do you really think what were they supposed to capture? No, it's a different script, different person in maturity. Has a daughter now, had a relationship with his daughter, a bad one. It's a different story. No, somehow, I guess they thought he was going to trim down and be the same Eddie and just all of a sudden the character doesn't evolve. He doesn't mature and grow up. You understand what I'm saying? If you look at Coming to America versus the first one, see what's the difference in where people don't pay attention. The first 2 Beverly Hills Cops were 3 years apart. Coming to America was like, how many years ago? You understand what I'm saying? So, to make a sequel to that 30, 40 years later is like, okay, think about it, y'all. The lingo is different. The styles, the way we dress, the way we move, the way everything, the way we talk, the way we dance, different. It's a different generation. Which means you have to incorporate these things to appeal to an audience. Okay, the masses. But what happens is, the old school people who grew up on that, I grew up on Coming to America. Oh man, the new one is garbage. Why? Because they're comparing it to the first one. And but in the first one, once again, you're talking about a young man, and in this movie versus him being an older guy. So he went from wanting to find his own bride not wanting people to tell him who to marry and how he should see, his bride and how she should see him, but for him and his bride to have their own mind, right? Their own opinions, their own way of connecting with each other. Now, in this one, he ends up playing a role of his dad. We have royalty waiting here to marry royalty and stuff like that. So, he forgot where he came from. People don't understand that. You watch the first Dumb and Dumber, right? Funny movie. The second one, it was two younger guys pretending to be them when they were younger, and I thought it was a good movie. But it's not like the first. It's not meant to be like the first one. It's meant to be funny. They want you to laugh. They want you to like the movie. But Jim Carrey wasn't, because this was a movie that was supposed to have happened before. So this is like, let's go back in the day, before they became, the age they were in the first one. Now the third one, again, 20 years later, whatever it was, 20-something years, whatever, okay, 30, whatever. Jim Carrey and I forget the other guys, they are older, much older now. And yeah, they were still dumb in the movie. Still similar to, stupidity, but their characters, that's what they were supposed to be. But there were still changes. There were still things that's going to be different. It's a different script. So literally, they want you to take a movie and go, I'm going to go scene for scene and match it in a new movie. That's like really the expectations. No. It's like people looking at Mike Tyson going, 57 years, but that's still Mike Tyson. And they still have this thing in their head, like he can just jump back in the ring right now and he's going to be 21-year-old Mike all over again. No, it's not realistic. It's not. Okay. So, I don't think Teofimo looked bad against Claggett. I just, like I said, Claggett's not well known. And every time someone fights, people flip-flop from going, this guy won't beat this guy. Then they see him fight. All of a sudden, they flip-flop. Nah, he'll get destroyed. He'll get this, he'll get that. Look, once again, regardless to who we think would win, I'm not going to even put Teofimo and Tank in the same breath right now in terms of a fight and what I think would happen. It's irrelevant. It really is. I mean, I could sit here and talk about it just to talk about it, but it's irrelevant because I don't care about Frank versus Teofimo. What we need to see from Tank is him versus Lomachenko. We need to see Tank versus Shakur Stevenson. We need to see Tank against Keyshawn Davis. At that point, there's nobody at 135 with any real name after that. Now, after that, does he want to go up and fight at 140 against Teofimo? Does he stay at 135? You're going to fight on my terms. Is Teofimo interested in going back to 135 or fighting at a catch weight? Do you understand? These are things you got to pay attention to. The way I see it, if anything, Teofimo may want to go up in weight. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think any of these guys that came from 135, they can't, see, Duran did it, but Duran was different. Teofimo will also have problems at 147. All of those guys will. Devin Haney will have the most trouble simply because his lack of punching power definitely will not carry over anywhere to 147. Teofimo shows you that even though he has power, he's not hurting these guys like he was hurting them at the smaller weights. Okay, hurting people and knocking them out, two different things. And he's showing you like, yeah, these bigger guys can take my punch better than the smaller guys can. So even for him to go to 147, I just him being a smaller guy. Now I'm not saying there's not people he can't outbox, but when we're talking about top level dudes, we're talking about don't mistake popularity from top level. Okay, some people just don't have the namesake. They don't have the popularity. Maybe they fought in the amateurs but didn't win any Olympic gold or something like that. So they're more unknown. But yeah, I don't really see that fight happening unless Teofimo is willing to do what Tank says. To be honest with you, the only way that changes is if somebody, Tank has a fight, he slips up, he gets beat. And all of a sudden his star power is not what it was, and now it's like, okay, he can't make these ridiculous demands and then expect people to fall into it. Like, who are you? You lost. I'm still undefeated. Or, we both have a loss now. Or whatever it may be. But, I don't think Teofimo looked bad in that fight. I just think, once again, he fought a guy that was relatively unknown. And Teofimo talks a lot of shit on top of that. And like I said, he lies a lot and all. But just all that aside, in the performance alone, he won a unanimous decision. And he pretty much dominated. So, Frank Martin's not the most known fighter either. Now, he looks like a better fighter than Claggett. But bottom line is, Tank went in there and he Frank was doing well. But once again, Tank knows how to adjust. Like I keep telling you guys, he's just a better fighter than people understand. It's similar to watching the San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan. But they're not flashy. They don't do it. Yeah, but they get the job done. And they won 5 championships. You guys are more concerned with somebody sticking their tongue out and imitating Michael Jordan. Yeah, that team has a nice highlight reel, but they're losing. Do you understand? The Spurs win. They crush people. That's what was going on. So Tank.Davis, basically, it's the knockout factor, the speed, the power, everything that he has, and how he puts it together. But people don't understand it because his style doesn't look like Shakur Stevenson's. You understand what I'm saying? His style doesn't look like Terrence Crawford's. His style, so people look at this and go, but how is he winning? Because he understands, he knows how to fight, he understands physicality, he knows when to turn up, and he can understand what's happening to you mentally, physically. He gets it. He gets it. Simple. So, should he beat Teofimo Lopez? Okay, a question that people want to know. I think he beats Teofimo Lopez. I think he catches Teofimo. He hurts him. I think he breaks Teofimo down. And I think that the more Teofimo opens up the fight, the more he gets hit. Now, should it be a good fight? Yeah. Let's not forget, Teofimo also got beat. Okay? Got beat convincingly by George Kambosos. Okay? So, but, once again, I'm not going to, as far as the fight goes, I personally don't care. It's not about predictions. Okay? It's not about, I don't care about all that. It's boxing is full of games and full of bullshit. And now we flip-flop from Tank versus Lomachenko to Tank versus Teofimo, just because Teofimo fought more recent. No. If we don't hear anything in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, about anything dealing with Tank.Davis and Lomachenko, this will be another situation of a fighters, whoever else involved, for whatever reason, can't deliver on putting the big fights together. Now, if it comes down to the fighters, there should be no, I don't want that fight, I don't need that fight. And the only good thing, like I said, this whole situation with Floyd and Tank not getting along is people got to stop blaming. Like I said, now nobody can blame. They can't point the finger at Floyd anymore. They've been doing that for the longest. They've been blaming Leonard Ellaby. They've been blaming Al Heyman. But notice how Tank.Davis and Leonard Ellaby are still tied together. You understand what I mean? So just say, do you know how Tank would do? Put up a tweet talking his shit, then take the tweet down. Now it's just more like, now let's just tell a whole bunch of stories about things that happened, didn't happen, or should have happened, or whatever. So, yeah, I think Teofimo held his own. And I don't think at all we're going to see Teofimo versus Tank next, if at all. If ever. And at some point, like with Teofimo, he's been more lately, since he's went to 140, he's been more quiet until like right before a fight. Like once a fight is done and like he knows what's going to happen, that's when he'll speak. Same with the Josh Taylor fight and so on. Like he just, and the fights before that, he doesn't really say much. Then all of a sudden you get the announcement and then he's fighting someone. But in terms of a slow burn, slow build up, ahead of time, no. And that's what you want to do when it comes to like the big fights where you know that, okay, the fight's happening. It should not be hard to make these negotiations. These guys should want to fight each other. So, once again, I don't care whose name they call out. If it's not a realistic fight, It doesn't interest me. And bottom line is, there's no reason for Tank and Lomachenko to not be next. We'll just see how things go. Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hair to people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.